My fellow New Democrats, I've lived in Guelph for almost 11 years. I first became a social activist at 9 years of age when I wore pants to school, when they were only allowed on gym days. When I was 18, I worked to establish the first non-smoking sections at the University of Winnipeg's cafeteria. When I was 24, I was placed in charge of fundraising for the NDP's safest federal seat that was held by Stanley Knowles after he was granted a permanent seat in Parliament. I have worked for more than 30 years for the New Democratic Vision as I grew up in Manitoba under Ed Schreier's government. We had public pharmacare, public auto insurance, and public utilities such as the hydro, gas, and telephone system. I believe in owning things as a community, not just as individuals, because human life is a shared life, and I can speak powerfully to that. By profession, I am a United Church minister, and I share a boat with other such ministers as J.S. Woodsworth, Stanley Knowles, Tommy Douglas, Bill Blakey, and Sherry DeNova. We are a constituency who believe in a just world, and the NDP most represents that quest for us. As a minister, I have worked as a chaplain in a variety of settings with homeless women in downtown Toronto and in corrections. I have worked in 4 hospital settings as a support person to people living with AIDS, cancer, and mental health issues. I have worked in pediatric oncology, walking with kids whose lives were cut short by cancer. I have also served in congregations, urban and rural. As a minister, much of my work has involved relationship building and working with others in committees. I am a homemaker and a mother to 4 sons. My husband and I have shared educating our children for the last 8 years. I'm actively involved in the homeschooling community in Guelph and serve as the outreach coordinator for the Guelph Homeschool Group. And this has recently led me to advocate for capital funding for a new central library, since it's a public institution and much used by those educating their own children. I've organized many events for my neighborhood to build a strong sense of community, activities for children, park parties, corn roasts, movie nights in the park, and I'm currently leading a group and initiating a community garden for Sunny Acres Park. My congregation at 3 Willows United Church is deeply involved in meeting the needs of lower income people in the west end of our city through our food and clothing shelf and our community gardens, which I actively support. In the Guelph NDP, I've worked on every campaign since I arrived, and I have served on the executive as well. I'm currently the disability rep. I was privileged in my early adulthood to work for the persons who founded Disabled Peoples International, who wrote the program for the United Nations Decade of the Disabled. I also worked for the national coordinator of what is now the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, whose work is now enshrined in our Constitution, in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I've been surrounded and I've been mentored by people who could see what others never dreamt possible, and I am grateful for their presence on this good earth. I have learned from the leaders who have mentored me that when we allow our minds to dream and envisage the world differently, we can make it so. We just have to make sure that no one snatches those dreams away from us. And that is why I stand before you now, because we have work to do. The Guelph electorate is habituated to voting Liberal, and Justin Trudeau is counting on historical habit to propel him into the Prime Minister's office. But habits can change, and the only thing that can shift bad habits is a compelling vision. Justin Trudeau's ambivalent and shifting positions leads one to think he is a confused leader. Tom Mulcair is a focused leader, and I will say so. In this upcoming election, the Conservatives will attempt to convince us all that we need to hand over our constitutional rights to be defended from the bad guys. We need to loudly fight this theft, and a theft it is. I would love to tell people this at the door. In Guelph, the federal race is a 4-way race, not a 3-way one. And we have lost support to the Green Party because we have pretended for far too long that they really aren't there. We need to wake up, and we need to tell people who think voting Green is casting a vote for a progressive party. Their leader, Elizabeth May, once said that she thought Brian Mulroney was the best prime minister this country ever had, for no federal government had ever done so much for the environment as his government had, of which she was senior policy advisor. They support consumption taxes that hurt the poor. This is what can be. We can leap across that great Atlantic pond and take inspiration, strength, and experience from European countries such as Britain, Germany, and France that have much more progressive health programs in place. As our baby boomers age, by 2031, they will represent almost a quarter of Canadians. They won't have workplace plans to cover the costs of their medications. As well, 15% of our present seniors develop Alzheimer's, which is an overwhelming feminized disease. An astonishing 70% of Alzheimer's patients are women. And the majority of caregivers are women. We need housing and we need supports for this tsunami that is going to hit. And this time we need a federal government that will work in partnership with the provinces on healthcare. We need a national aging strategy before we are caught with our pants down. We also need to improve income support for seniors from the guaranteed income supplement, which is universal, not job-based or income-treated. Many women work intermittently throughout their lives, especially during childbearing and childrearing years. Many women cannot work when they become sandwiched, caring for grandchildren or elderly parents. And many women work in the service sector that does not lead to good pensions. Many women have spent their lives working for a better world, for the nurturing of relationships, rather than pursuing the accumulation of wealth. And we deserve income security, since we have invested our lives creating and nurturing life. I am one such woman, and I want our voices to be heard in Parliament, for there are far too few women occupying those seats in Ottawa, and we bring a deep experience in these matters to the table. Other countries have shown much greater support for post-secondary education. The younger generation should not be saddled with a $40,000 to $60,000 in debt when they are finished what is essential education in the new information economy. We are one of the wealthiest countries on this earth, and if Britain, Ireland, Costa Rica, and Switzerland are intelligent and committed enough to relieving this enormous burden on our young, then we too should do this. It is the right and it is the just thing to do. One of my friend's daughters was an Aboriginal woman living on Vancouver's east side. She worked the streets and she was murdered. We must have a national inquiry into the disappearances and the deaths of all those Aboriginal women whose lives have been stroked off the map. How many Canadians have died at the hands of terrorists in this country, and we're having a national debate over Bill C-41. Yet hundreds of our Aboriginal women have been terrorized with no address. I will tell Tom Mulcair that without this, we cannot be a just or caring or civilized nation that allows women to disappear with no curiosity as to why or what can be done to stop it. We have the opportunity before us to speak before the citizens of Guelph that Mr. Harper cares not for democracy and that Mr. Trudeau does not appear to know where he is going. And I'm asking you to support these issues, and I will gladly carry them forward because I believe not in what is or even was, but I believe in what can be. Thank you.